This guy's content is a genuine plague on the internet and the website that is YouTube, if you ask me. He has no doubt managed to radicalize a large number of people through a very clever act of selective editing and clickbait and AI thumbnail generation and views maxing, as many people online call it, with online presences, where you just kind of try to game the algorithms to get as much reach as possible. And for a while, his content at least had some interesting value, at least in my opinion, but now all he does is push hate, more or less. And today we're talking about Tyler Oliveira. This creator has an interesting history. We actually covered him a little while ago when he did this video, where is it? Here it is, Inside India's Poop Throwing Festival. We covered this video, and it kind of kickstarted a trend that has grown since of racists and white supremacists heavily refocusing their attention onto Indians as their target, as the target of their ire. And don't get me wrong, he's done other videos since, but he's now made what is being called a triumphant return with I Exposed Texas's Indian Invasion. And here we've got the thumbnail, AI generated of course, with welcome to Little India, Texas on the sign, and the street is full of little cartoon poops. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. And of course you've got Tyler with his video here, They Tried to Silence Me. It backfired. This is a guy who's being extraordinarily heavily pushed by the YouTube algorithm. He has a massive audience. No one is banning him, no one is silencing him. But of course, he's doing the typical woe is me, I'm a victim bit. But yeah, so let's see. We've got Canada's Indian invasion. Now let's see Texas's Indian invasion, as he calls it. Remember, any amount of non-white people existing in America, or frankly, any country, I guess, is an invasion now. No such thing as good old-fashioned immigration anymore in Trump's America. This is, of course, an interesting thing to be focused on, of course, when you've got the fact that, you know, Trump is gone back on every promise he made. Economy is in shambles. We're at war. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that might be a bigger concern, but what do I know? I don't have the millions of subscribers like he does, after all.
Frisco, Texas, a once quiet farm town turned home to one of the largest and fastest growing Indian communities in America.
Where are you from?
India.
From India?
Damn, I've never heard someone say Indian in a way that, like, sounds like a slur. That was like the Indian version of when someone says black in a way where it's like, whoa, buddy, what, you, bro, you, the way you said that, like, Jesus, you know, like the way Indian, like, damn, what was that about, bro?
I'm from India.
South India.
I'm an H1B.
I'm into IT.
Motherland India or Texas, USA?
Obviously, Motherland India.
Obviously.
Obviously, Motherland India.
As the Indian population exploded from 3% to 33% of the population since the year 2000, many Texans are outraged, declaring there has been an Indian invasion. But how?
Dude, I cannot wait for when this guy gets banned off YouTube, but for real, you know? Because this guy, I'm not gonna lie, this type of content is especially dangerous. This guy will never advocate for any form of violence or hostility whatsoever in any of his videos, but that is the outcome. I wouldn't say it's the outcome he wants. I think he's a grifter. I think he has found a formula that's making him an immense amount of money. But in the process, what he's also doing is radicalizing people by showing them a very selective story, you know? First, we've got this story about how 3 to 33% in just a few years of this town's population is now Indian. And then we have this framed as like, and people are saying it's an Indian invasion. But let's actually stop and think about this for a minute. What's happening more likely than not is that people are moving to this town. The town is growing. The economy is growing. The population of Indians going from 3 to 33% of the town doesn't mean that people are being replaced. More than anything, it means the town is growing. And if you know anything about rural Texan towns, or, you know, towns just all about Texas, they could absolutely use more attention and traffic in general. And so when you sort of create a narrative like this to try and sell to people, and then you've got the other aspect of what this guy does, which is selectively record and edit things that are meant to frame certain groups as like disgusting or evil or awful or dangerous or violent or insane. You know, we've seen it a million times. You've seen his thumbnails. It is no doubt meant, or not meant to, but is going to radicalize people into, at best, voting in a way that is gonna hurt the groups that Tyler Oliveira's videos disparage. And worst case scenario, like, God forbid, incites somebody to take acts of violence out on these groups. And this has happened before. Internet content creators who make right-wing content about immigration specifically have inspired mass shooters many times before. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the next time it happens, the internet's going to try and claim it was some kind of government psyop.
How are all these Indians coming to Texas? And is Frisco the only town in Texas where Indians are seemingly spawning out of thin air? I pulled up to the Frisco town hall meeting to witness the clash of heritage Texans and their new Indian neighbors.
We need more or less H-1B people here?
We need a lot less.
Why?
I got laid off 20 years ago. I worked in IT. I have 2 master's degrees. I was making over $100,000 a year. They said, you're too expensive, we're going to hire Indian. But I haven't been able to find a job in IT since, and it's really sad.
And you know what? I don't have...
You can hear that guy's accent, right? That is very ironic. Extremely ironic. What I find very interesting, though, is that guy mentioned he has 2 master's degrees and got fired 20 years ago? In 2006? He got fired because H-1B visa holders were flooding out the realm of, of coding and tech development. That's when that happened to him. He has 2 master's degrees, and somehow, after 20 years, he's not found a job. I don't believe that guy's story, if I'm being honest with you.
I have another home in India. I don't have another home in Bangladesh. I don't have another home. I can't move to Somalia. I won't be able to live there. I'll die. This is my home. The devil would say, well, you're racist. That's racist. According to the devil's dictionary definition of the term, I am racist.
There's been a takeover in Frisco.
That's right, guys. According to the devil's dictionary definition of racist, he is racist.
Of the Indian population and a lot of concerned citizens, and I'm leading the way asking questions. And I made this because
Okay, I need to just point this out because it's so cringe to I just have to point these little things out. He chose to do this in his editing.
Term, I am racist.
There's been a takeover in Frisco of the Indian population and a lot of concern.
So this is his footage, I'm pretty sure, that he has artificially lowered the frame rate on to make it look, I don't know, like found footage, scary, dramatic. Like, he lowered the frame rate to like 15 frames a second on this video for no reason, but he did it manually for some kind of purpose.
Citizens, and I'm leading the way asking questions. And I made this because
there's like a blur effect on that video too. I'm not the only one who notices it, right? Listen, I'm a YouTuber, so I edit videos. I know these little tricks. I can spot like, oh, that was an edit. That was consciously done by an editor for a reason.
Corporations own Frisco. I'm a lifelong Texan turned T-Mobile whistleblower. I started talking about H-1B because T-Mobile uses H-1B to employ foreigners while they're laying off Americans right down the street. You know, the Indian population in Frisco has exploded 33% of the population over the past 20 years, a 4,510% increase. And you know, there might be a lot of people here that are coming here legally, but there also seems to be some red flags with the H.
You've already said you're against the legal immigration. Red flags with the H-1B, that's legal immigration, by the way. So we're already doing that thing where we just don't draw any kind of line between legal and illegal immigration, which was always their plan. I remember 10 years ago, Republicans were so insistent that they want more legal immigration, less illegal immigration, but now they deliberately try to blur the line as much as possible, because their goal has always been to make all immigration that's not like, you know, white South Africans or like Swedes or something. They want to make that illegal.
H-1B visa program, and the question is, are Indian people using that to bring people over?
So you're telling me Frisco's turning into Little Mumbai at this rate?
That's what people like to call it these days.
I'm America.
Look at the fucking punchable face on this
Little
guy.
Mumbai at this rate?
That's what people like to call it.
Look at the fucking Reddit moderator. Can you ever see someone say the snarkiest, just most obnoxious thing on Reddit, where they think they're the smartest person in the world, and you can just imagine the face they're making as they type it is that face? I'm pretty sure that's the face.
These days.
I'm America first. I'm pro-American.
USA.
Yeah,
USA.
I think it's a good sign. People whoever has done the fraud, they should be brought to the justice. And I'm now running for the Justice of Peace in Texas.
Justice of Peace?
Yes.
What's your name?
Martin Padetti.
Martin Preti.
Yeah. I want everybody to enjoy the life, but at the end of the day, we want to do it right.
My beef isn't with the Indian people.
They blame the immigrants, but don't blame the employers for not wanting to pay more and opt for someone who will work for less. Well, that's the thing, though, right? While these people are employees, they don't want immigration because they see it as competition for their jobs. But keep in mind, Republicans are all temporarily embarrassed billionaires. They're all people who think they're just one day away from everything going the way it was supposed to go and them being a CEO or an owner of a franchise or of a large corporation. They have always believed they're going to be a billionaire one day because, of course, they're the best of the best. And capitalism is about the best of the best rising to the top. And so when they have their own corporation they're at the top of, they, of course, want to be able to replace their workers with H-1B visa immigrants. So they don't want to have there be any consequences for the actual business owners. Some Republicans you'll see actually call for consequences for the business owners, but if I'm being honest, it's not as common as you would hope it would be to actually, if you're expecting them to be consistent, that is.
With the system that are allowing them to do what we are experiencing here.
Is there sufficient talent in America? Do we need infinite H-1Bs, so to speak?
We do have enough talent in America.
Okay.
We strongly believe because the Americans landed on the moon when all of these H-1Bs even born.
Yeah, the truth of it is though that's not true. Look at literally every economist in the field of economics. Look at their consensus opinion. The U.S. needs immigrant labor in order to have a continuously growing economy, which is what we have benefited from, and America has become used to for about a century now. If we decide to cut off immigration and stagnate our economy, which is what it's doing as we cut immigration down, it's stagnating our economy, the U.S. will no longer be a continuously forever growing economy. We will be ending that, a 100-year precedent, with the snap of a finger. And there's no coming back from it. Not quickly. And I don't think people are ready for the kind of America that we're going to live in at that point. I don't think people are ready for the kind of America where you don't work at McDonald's at the cashier, like front desk or whatever. Instead, you're working an assembly line. You're losing fingers. Of course, these are jobs that are being replaced by AI and automation anyway. So at a certain point, there's just not going to be any jobs to be done. The fact is, Americans don't really like getting into tech and whatnot. Like, there's not enough of them getting into STEM. There's not enough of them getting into tech fields. A lot of Americans like to do work that can be replaced. And that's a scary thing. Replaced with automation. And I understand why some Americans are afraid that immigration is going to lead to them getting replaced. But the fact is, if they're bringing in immigrants to replace you, you weren't qualified enough to stay in the position to begin with. Like, they were never going to keep you around for very long if they replaced you that quick. The fact is, if there truly is a wealth of good workers that meet the requirements in America, then there's going to be plenty globally that can replace you, of course. And even if they do cut off the ones that are globally trying to replace you, there are plenty of workers in America that could replace you anyway. What if someone from New York comes and replaces you? Are you going to be against people coming from New York to Texas? I mean, honestly, Texans would probably vote for a bill that did that. But nonetheless, you understand my point. It's not just the fact that work is being lost. If that was the case, these people would be extremely anti-AI.
To be fair, we did borrow a few Germans.
See, we got a lot of natural
That's true.
intelligence also.
I totally forgot to mention that part. We actually did borrow a lot of scientists for the moon landing. Surprisingly, Tyler's the one who brought that up.
Americans, right? So they're also getting laid off.
Do you think there should be a strong limitation on the number of H-1Bs?
I am advocate for the
H-1Bs?
limiting the H-1Bs. India is a great country. We respect pluralism, and most of Indians, they enjoy the American part of the American society. And I know you guys like the Indian food a lot too, right?
This is true. I do enjoy tikka masala.
Yeah. If we turn away from God,
that's British food.
God and the Word of God,
I think he knows that, and that was on purpose.
we worship these Indians, these Somalis, if we just give everything to them, willing to cut your own throat, we'll die.
H-1Bs are the scapegoats. The employers, those are the people who have to investigate it. Even in one of my friends in Dallas, most of Indians, they'll follow the caste. If you're not in the same caste, they will let you go. It happened in Dallas.
So casteism is happening here in Texas.
Yes, absolutely.
I have my heart full.
The caste system is coming to a place near you. I like how the implication of that is that, like, white Texan natives are gonna have to live under India's caste system. That's absolutely what's being implied there.
For all immigrant people, but man, we got to do it the right way.
I want to ask you, infinite legal immigration, though, will still alter the fabric of any place, right?
Correct.
Would you be a proponent of infinite legal immigration?
Don't understand it quite what you're saying, but yes, I mean, if it's done legal, if it's done the right way, yes, because To what I've seen, countries have been blessed when immigration is involved. You know, when you got different kinds of groups involved, doing it the right way, following
Does he have a TPUSA hat
rule
on?
of law. I think it's a good thing.
But if the law has allowed Frisco's Indian population to go from less than 2% to almost 20% Indian in the last 20 years, turning Frisco into a majority-minority city, is the...
Okay, 30% is not a majority. The fact that they are Indian is not bad. You've yet to argue why them being a different race is a bad thing. Also allowed? Like a pest problem? Like allowed it to get out of hand? Is that the wording you're using there? Like, bro, what the fuck? We're getting a little overt with it these days. I guess since he managed to get away with that India video, the Indian like poop festival video that he made, I guess he figures he can just be very overt with his racism now. Or at least not very, but like a lot more overt.
Tense of these work visas bringing Indians to America to support our labor force or to replace it altogether.
Oh my god! Oh my god, those children aren't white! Oh my god! Ah!
To the flag of the United States of America.
This is insurrection. This is the overthrow of the United States government, which is...
Oh my god! They're doing the pledge! Whoa!
Why 20 million people walked across that border. I can't go to Somalia and live, or Mexico. This is my home, America. The H-1B visas, we don't need them. Not right now. Someday, but not now.
And now, as of late 2025, T-Mobile USA opened a global technology hub in Hyderabad, India that employs thousands of Indians while they're laying off Texans in America.
Okay, I'm gonna guess that this guy's a somebody. Like there's a funny story behind this guy, I guarantee it. If I was feeling less lazy today, we would be looking deep into this guy, because Tyler's also the dude who did that whole like Minnesota fraud thing, and he was working with this guy, this like mysterious unnamed guy who just had all these documents and supposed inside info on the supposed fraud. That went nowhere, of course, because there was nothing to do with all that. But now he's got this guy, a new guy here in Texas, talking about this like supposed Indian invasion. Dollar Store Matt Walsh. He really does look like Matt Walsh, doesn't he? But it feels like there's just like white racist dudes all over America that like get into contact with Tyler Oliveira and like call him out to do these videos, and they basically just like give him the narrative to push, more or less. Wasn't that Nick Shirley? Yeah, but Tyler also did a video. He and Nick Shirley copies Tyler Oliveira. Like, that's the format, but Tyler Oliveira then copied Nick Shirley.
Americans. They've even sent Americans to go train these Indians in India. T-Mobile USA could have easily opened up this technology hub in the United States of America.
That's a job, by the way. Just letting you know, that's a job for an American to go over to India and train workers in India. I don't think people realize that the kickback benefit of globalism is that after a long period of workers flooding into your country and filling positions in your country, eventually other countries who also become reliant on a service-based economy like what America has start desiring foreign workers as well. Next thing you know, countries like Japan, God willing, are begging for foreign immigration, offering jobs at very, very competitive pay levels. That's what America was doing. That's why so many people moved to America and started working jobs here. When our economy became service-based, it was a big deal. And a lot of the rest of the world is on the verge of becoming service-based economies like the US as well. And that is going to lead to, much like with America, them relying on a massive influx of immigrants to fill job positions for their economies to continuously grow. That's necessary in this sort of late-stage capitalist world that we live in. I missed your super chat? Don't worry, we're in a mid-segment. I read super chats after segments. Anyway, though, we might do a whole segment someday if people are interested on the economics behind why immigration is necessary and why America's economy has grown year by year up until, I guess, Donald Trump took office in this most recent term, and why that's such a big deal, and why America needs a constantly growing economy, why immigration leads to that, and why it's good. You know, like, I might do a whole video on that. You guys let me know if you want to see it down below. I think it'd be interesting.